Our working theory as a group going forward is that Amelia just is the witch. Now, we don't know whether
Always
it's...
has been.
Okay, no one embarrass yourselves.
No one embarrass yourselves.
Again, I'm going to say whatever embarrassing things I can say.
Except for Superman.
なんだかすごく変な気分。スバルの意地悪。
I love the pudge cheek.
ありがとう。
She cute. She cute.
Yep.
These are facts.
Why were people so hyped up about this episode?
I have no idea. I was gonna say it. I have no idea.
Okay. So I guess there are two things, and don't get me wrong, I don't think this is worthy of saying this is the hypest thing that's since sliced bread, but
Yeah, people have been gassing it up like crazy.
But these are my main two. I mean, this episode's important. Don't get me wrong, but it's
Sure.
Puck willingly breaks his contract with Amelia for reasons not entirely known.
It seems like in order for her to get her memories back.
It feels like we're gonna have to resort to that.
Yeah.
And then that happened. You know?
And then of course Amelia, we get a little bit of Amelia's memories, which kind of breaks all of our previous theories about her origins.
Not necessarily.
Sure.
So I actually got gassed up when she was like, yeah, they found me in ice. And I was like, well, that would have been important to mention at some point in the first 39 episodes, because now we're Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the first season, it was the first season, correct, Alex? They added in like no, my bad. It wasn't the season. It was the movie they released.
Yeah. They went.
Alex and I watched this movie.
Okay. So the movie's required viewing?
Yes. The short version is, in the movie, like she said, she lived in the forest and she had woken up frozen in ice. Puck was seen making some deal with someone. We don't know who. But he makes some deal to form a contract with her, but he's not allowed to... He's not allowed to get too close to her or something like that?
I think he wasn't allowed to help her out to like a huge extent.
Yeah.
Or like influence her actions or something along those lines.
It was something like that, but it's definitely something like he's not supposed to help. And if he does too much, like it'll violate the deal he made with that person. And I think the deal he made was so that Amelia wouldn't like be killed. Because I think that the forces that be that we don't really know or understand about, were trying to kill Amelia. She's evil incarnate. We gotta kill her. And Puck was like, nah, don't do that. And so he scrapped it out with this like god with a question mark or some other spirit, I guess. It was like all fire and horsey and shit. Anyways, so he fights with that thing, and then Amelia and him end up fighting together to fight that thing, and then they make their contract where they contract together. So he's got to deal with someone, which I guess is a contract, and then he's got another contract with her specifically.
Oh,
and
maybe.
I think he has to break his contract with her so that
he can fulfill the other one.
Maybe. Or no. I think it's that in order to not violate his contract with the other one, but still help her, he has to break his contract with her, I think.
Okay. I believe that.
I can't remember. I might be putting that the wrong way because I don't remember the details.
But the other really important aspect of the movie was Amelia was like kind of I don't want to say, I mean, she was kind of a prisoner to the forest in the sense that like all of her family, or what she thought was her family, and her entire village was frozen. And she thought it was like her doing that froze all of them. And so she had like this immense guilt that if she doesn't like from day to day take care of them and wipe the frost off of them and stuff like this, that they were going to perish, and that she held out hope that one day she'd be able to save them. Which is what they also alluded to in this episode, which is a pretty important point, I think.
Okay.
And as an addendum to that, what I think a part of the contract that Puck made was that he was actually the one doing it.
He was actually the one freezing them.
Yeah. He was the one that made it snow around there. I don't remember if he froze them, but he made it snow there.
Yeah,
Oh.
at least that part was clear. But
Continually snow there so that no one would come in because they're like, it's just garbage here. No one wants to live here. And I think he was doing that to try to protect Amelia or to keep her safe.
So I feel like I have to piece together what I can with a lot of different varying pieces of information. So I'm feeling like this seal on the witch involves the witch's like spirit and then a vessel, right? And they sealed the spirit, right? And then also made the vessel extremely inaccessible. You know what I mean? And that's what this frozen village surrounded by people calling themselves family says to me, right? They weren't her actual family. This is restricting access to the vessel and at the same time trying to keep the vessel occupied or from finding out it's not where it's supposed to be.
I had a thought and I didn't want to forget it. It was about how Subaru was trying to turn her into the what is it? The
leader.
Ruler, I guess that's what they call it. They didn't really give a title to it. And I was thinking about that idea that that there was some sort of time travel MacGuffin going on, and there was more at play than we could know. And I was thinking, what if? So we know the history of of the witch being sealed away by like the dragon and the hero and the priest. I think that's the three, and we know that the ruler makes a deal or talks to or is cool with in some way the dragon. We've never seen this dragon. We don't know anything about them, but I was thinking about how that could be connected to that idea that there's like, because if she becomes connected to the dragon in this way, and then she becomes taken over by Satella or something like that, and then that's used to smite the dragon, which is what Roswell wants anyway, and then or maybe I don't know if he actually said he wants to kill the dragon. I know he seems to have issues with the dragon.
I think he did say he wants to slay it, but
for sure he has issues with the dragon. Yeah. But I'm thinking that if this were like that kind of time travel thing, Subaru makes all this stuff happen here, and it's like one of those self-feeding, self-returning loop of events, if you will, right? It's where the dragon is slayed, Satella becomes free, inhabits the body of Amelia, becomes the witch, is able to go back in time and do all this evil stuff, gets sealed again. Events repeat. Subaru constantly reincarnated to fix this problem.
But this becomes a non-story if that happens. So like this may be the case, but I feel like the logical conclusion to that story is that this time Subaru breaks the cycle somehow.
Yes.
So like, what does ReZero become then?
I guess you have to wait for the author to lead us down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to go for the cheesy title idea where maybe breaking the cycle means that Subaru properly resets the entire world's story to zero.
Oh.
Maybe. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that might be, too, I don't know, unironic, too easy to anticipate.
I don't know.
But I appreciate that kind of stuff because it's not like that going in. You don't see ReZero and then you're just like, oh, whole world restarts at the beginning.
Yeah, right? You're like, oh yeah, Japan names things weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what one's inclination is, it's in reference to his power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's could be.
I don't know. I feel like I need a lot more information still. I feel like I left the last season off being like, all right, I need more information to make a good like theory that comes together, at least in a nugget that I can build on. I don't feel like I have that still.
Let's at least talk about the stuff that actually happened in this episode and then pull back information. How about that? So we do get some interesting nuggets. And I think one of those is definitely the fact that Amelia has a mom, or at least someone she called mother something. So maybe it was maybe it's like a moniker, or not necessarily, she was adopted or something like that, and she was fed this kind lie, whatever that is. What are you like? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because we're throwing around these ideas of her being a vessel, right? We've talked about how this could be, again, this is not Subaru's first time getting isekai'd, or interacting with the witch. We've talked about a lot of these things. So how does that fit in with the information that we've already been given?
So I'll give a little bit of a non-answer while everyone else is thinking here. So one thing that I noticed with that whole scene and that whole monocore is that I think they might be starting to feed us information of how, if we are making this connection that Amelia == Satella, that maybe they're starting to give us some inclination of how that process starts to come about.
Huh.
Ooh,
And
I like that.
particularly, so the way that, or what kind of set me off on that is that when they were showing that scene, right, the mom, I believe it was the mother or whoever in that whole sequence was talking about, I love you, right?
Right.
And that we've seen that Satella says that quite a bit. And it might be that, or so sort of thinking in terms of the plot here, I was under the impression that it might be that the reason that Puck was, kind of the placing the seal on her memories is that he has this external knowledge that once that seal is broken, whatever those memories are going to shape her potentially into being Satella now. And so again, it's kind of a non-answer, but that was a lot of what I got from that whole scene in general.
What if the memories was the sealing of the witch? And we've seen that these witches don't have to be fully mature, grown-up adults. What if, as a child, she was the witch, and like this forest was covered in ice because that's what the witch's curse was, right?
Huh.
She just made the forest covered in ice. And she didn't know how to control it yet because she's a child. She's a baby.
I think going off of what you said, actually, the kind lie that they told her, supposedly, when we're shown that the mom is like telling her about this kind lie, she's crying, and they mention that everyone turned to ice. So maybe the kind lie was that she was told that she didn't turn everyone to ice, but she actually had.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, but somehow the mom didn't get turned to ice and still loved her regardless, or was going to get turned to ice regardless. So maybe that is a thing. It's just like a power that she unleashed and she didn't know she had.
Right.
And restricting her memories was a way of restricting that power.
That could be cool because it could be like, oh yeah, like we're lying to you about the fact that you're not the witch, but you really are. You're the incarnate. Maybe this is like a thing where the witch just reincarnates into somebody of the same species. I don't know.
We've seen that. Like we've been toying with the idea that she's a vessel, right? But like I don't think we've ever seriously entertained that she might actually just be the witch,
Right.
And without her memories, she doesn't know what to do with witch's powers or that she even has them. But if she were to get them back, then that's essentially the seal breaking and the witch coming back. I don't know. It's tough to find things to grasp onto right now, but I like that from a storytelling perspective because it changes a lot of what people I think in general are theorizing.
So what
So-
I want to say is, oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No. Go ahead for it.
Okay. What I wanted to say is that more back to the kind lie idea. What if the kind lie? I like what you guys are saying about it. It kind of gives off this almost has spoilers Naruto kind of thing. Not quite, but like where this evil is sealed inside this person that doesn't know about it, right? And it's just waiting to kind of come to the forefront. But what if instead the kind lie was that these people pretended that they were her family. And the reason why I think that that's got some weight to it or hold some water or whatever is because when she's talking about it, when Emilia herself is referring to the kind lie, when like back in the present, I don't know, when time is kind of weird in this already based on the conversation. Well, in what we believe to be the present, right? Emilia is clutching the stone and she's crying and she calls mother somebody and talking about that lie, right? Now, I think what is interesting is because before that, when she's talking to Subaru, she is talking about her family and she's like, mother, and then it hits her. Something hits her. We don't know what something hits her. And I think it's what hits her is she's thinking, oh, I had a mom, because like she's thinking about these memories as a kid. And then as her memories continue to return, she realizes, I learned that my mother wasn't really my mother. Right? And that's when it's like, oh, like she's just like, ooh, my mom wasn't really my mom. And then that triggers other thoughts. Why wasn't my mom really my mom? Because I'm destined for this, or I was made for this. I'm a vessel for this. These people were just made to like, or just there to protect me, keep me safe, or to grow me into whatever this thing was, whatever. I don't have an answer for that. Well, I think that could be really interesting as well. Just like this idea that this is a false family, and that's the kind lie, right? Because no one else would want to be her family. And we've seen
She'd be alone, yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen Emilia, that's like a central part of her character, this like isolation. And if she was truly the witch and people knew it, she would for sure be isolated. And we know that the characterization of Satella is that doesn't really work very well for her. She wants to be loved, right? Mm-hmm. She's envious, it seems, of the fact that other people are able to gain love even though she isn't. So if we put all those like themes and like cross those ideas, I'm building a picture where Emilia or Satella is alone in the world, and this false family was built for her to help her to deal with it. And for some reason it was taken away, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
Yeah, those are some good observations.
That'd be cool.
How about, so during the episode, one thing that I noticed at two locations, right, is that, you know, now that we have this theme of the Witches of Greed here, now we know that anytime one of those key words is dropped, that has to bear some significance, right? And so they mentioned twice, or at one point in the episode they mentioned greed, right? And I think Roswell's conversation with Subaru, mm-hmm. And then the other location was Subaru called Emilia slothful, and I don't know. I think that has some significance, particularly if we want to maybe start to form the argument of, you know, because I think at some point in our scribblings of last season, we talked about how Subaru was starting to display all the attributes of each of the witches. And I think that maybe that might also pertain to Emilia. Perhaps we should start keeping a scoreboard of all the different witch-esque traits she's starting to exhibit.
I'll give you that it might mean more. I like that, and I like that I think that we should definitely keep track of it. But I think that's kind of, I don't want to say dangerous. It might give us more than we're asking for, because
Mhm.
the whole point of these like the 7 deadly sin kind of things is that everybody at some point exhibits some of these traits, right?
Sure.
It's things that humanity is like sort of attracts itself to. So I'm afraid we might start seeing those things when they're not there. Definitely when they name drop it, right? But if you're gonna say, I don't know. You know what I mean, though? It's like if we're looking too hard for that, we might start seeing it when it's not there, and that might lead us off of a path towards truth.
Okay, one more thought on the whole Amelia as the witch thing. What if, kind of like Attack on Titan, when maybe these witches can die, and when they die, they reincarnate in like a person, right? And Amelia, as this child, was this witch reincarnate, and they froze her to keep her from attaining a certain age, at which point she would just become the witch again, or like gain all of her memories, and that was that. So like freezing her or freezing the whole town or the whole village was a way of preventing her from gaining this age or like becoming the witch. Or maybe she froze the town and disappeared, and that's why no one had seen this witch for so many years. But the rumor of how evil this witch was already spread because she had already killed this whole town, and had just simply disappeared. But now she's been awoken again, and Puck was perhaps the final piece of that ice that was like keeping her from becoming the witch, right? But now that's gone. The memories are back, and now she's kind of gaining age. I don't know. It seems maybe.
I actually kind of like
So-
that. I like that. Like, I like the idea that it could be this like this power that comes that comes of at a certain age, right? And we've seen like the witches of all like seemingly different ages. They could just have like immortal bodies.
Like, if we're gonna operate under the assumption that this stuff happened 400 years ago and she was frozen for 400 years, it would make sense that people would have like forgotten what this witch actually looked like, right? You think?
So that brings up an interesting question that I'm not sure was sufficiently ever addressed. Because at the beginning of season 1, right, there's these claims that Amelia is the witch or that she resembles the witch, and of course we now know that we saw the Satella, and so we know that she looks very identical to her. But how would everyone else know what this Satella looks like?
So, issue number 1 with this whole thing is that we do not know how long she was frozen in ice. We can assume that the child that we just saw in this episode was the one that was frozen, because that's kind of what Amelia was implying, but we don't actually know that. And I only feel like I'm giving it that implication. I don't even know if that's truly what she was implying. Well, she was frozen, or rather when she was unfrozen, she looked to be this age. We don't know if the freezing actually stopped her from aging. That's a good assumption to make, certainly. Well, she could have been frozen as a child and then grew older in the ice and then was just knocked out when she was a teenager, or like brought back out rather when she was a teenager. That's a possibility. So there may not be like a 400-year gap, but entertaining the idea that there is one, I think, is very interesting, because lending credence to what Johnny was saying about the idea that that something horrible happened by this child with witch powers, and so they sealed it away, or they sealed her away, right? If the witch came and did a whole bunch of horrible stuff 400 years ago, and then she was frozen in ice for 400 years, and then showed up again, that could be the connection between why they look alike, right? Because it is the same person, like Johnny was saying, right? They've been frozen for 400 years, and she's lost those memories because there was a contract made with Puck by someone who we still don't know in order to seal those memories from her.
Well, okay, but shouldn't it be the case if someone is sealed up there for 400 years, those people 400 years ago are all but going to perish except for the few who seemingly are able to live that long?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still, I don't see what the workaround is to saying that, well, Amelia looks identical to Satella, and it seems like everyone is on board this train.
Because legend, right?
That's the first part, but the second part is they don't say she looks identical. They say she has the same features. If you watch the first season, when people are talking about it, they're saying the White Witch or the Witch of Envy had white hair and had pointy ears and these purple eyes, but they don't actually say Amelia looks just like her. And that's why when you see a kidnap first, I was like, hold on, is this what the Witch of Envy looks like? And then we find out that she's not the Witch of Envy, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because they only describe the witch. They don't actually say that Amelia looks just like her.
That's fair.
And us finding out that is a huge deal.
That's fair.
So this actually makes the moment when we see the Witch of Envy's face.
It's huge.
Just a couple episodes ago, it makes that way more impactful because that is Amelia,
yes.
Right? And we were assuming that it's playing with toying around with different sort of visualizations, or it's in a Subaru's head or something like that. No, what if that's actually they are the same person?
All right, so that's our working theory. Our working our working theory as a group going forward is that Amelia just is the witch. Now we don't know whether
always has been.
Yep, always has been. and we don't know whether there's some time travel stuff going on or there's some there's so. I think that's a good place to end off too. We've been talking about this for an hour.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we have.
Yeah. We've been talking about this for an hour.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Let's move